Today I fucked up for feeding my children first even if I am very hungry. I always feed my kids first, no matter how starving I am. Doesn't matter if I've been running around all day, skipping meals, dealing with a teething baby and a toddler meltdown. I'll stand there and make sure their plates are full before I even think about mine. But yesterday pushed me over the edge. I made dinner, gave them their food, and sat down to eat after they were already halfway done. Within 5 minutes, they were fighting over who got the bigger piece of chicken and somehow spilled juice all over my plate. Just fully soaked it. I blinked and it was a mess. I got up to clean it, came back, and my oldest was literally eating off my plate because, you weren't eating it anyway. I just sat there in silence. I was so hungry I could have cried, but I ended up making toast and eating it cold while standing at the sink. It hit me then how often I put myself last and how used to it I've gotten. I know I'm the adult, and yeah, they come first most days, but damn. I broke a little last night over that soggy-ass dinner. Too long did not read. Make sure to eat together and discipline your children. Children learn by following examples. You're unfortunately setting an example where they are the most important people at the table and they're entitled to eating your dinner. For their sake, you need to set some expectations and rules or they're going to end up with the wrong ideas. You don't have to neglect them to take care of yourself, it's not an either-or situation. You can set the expectation that everyone eats together. And everyone eats their own food. Even if it's not perfect, repetition and consistency are key. I feel like this is called for the oxygen mask on a plane analogy. It's not good to teach children they're the center of the world. They need to learn other people have needs too. Your too long did not read is spot on. It's important that your children know you matter too. How old is this child who decided it was okay to eat your dinner? Because if they are older than 6, they should know that isn't okay. Let them see when they hurt you. They need that visual feedback. They need to recognize that so they develop a reasonable amount of empathy. Today I fucked up thinking we were alone. A girl on Tinder invited me to her apartment a couple of nights ago. I guess I ticked enough boxes for her to not only feel comfortable having me in her home, but also feel comfortable having me in her bedroom. I was in the middle of providing oral sex when I heard a baby crying in another room. I paused what I was doing and naturally asked questions relating to the baby that I didn't know existed until that moment. I learned that the girl who had my face between her legs was a single mom, who eventually got upset at me for not proceeding with the eating of her pussy and being concerned that her baby might need her attention. She gave me a speech about how I had no fucking idea what motherhood was like, especially for a young single parent, and then sarcastically thanked me for not making her come for the first time in months. She kicked me out of her apartment after she was done blaming me for making her feel like she's a bad mom. I posted this in Amy overreacting, and the consensus were that my reaction to the crying baby was valid and that the mom should never have allowed a random guy into her apartment to begin with. I accepted what happened as a weird Tinder experience or whatever and attempted to move on with my life. Cut to this morning. Woke up. First thing I did was check my phone. First thing I said was what the fuck. All I could see were messages from the same person. It was the mom. The messages started off apologetic, but then it got bizarre. Based on what I was reading, she wanted me to understand what made me attractive to her. She said I looked like the baby's dad and provided photos of the father as proof. Not gonna lie, we looked alike. She said the fact that I looked like her baby daddy was the only reason she was willing to basically skip all of the steps and invite me over for sex. She said my resemblance was also the reason she lost her shit when I made a fuss about the baby crying because the father, aka my doppelganger, never gave a fuck about the baby at all, hence his absence. She joked that she saved my Tinder photos and shared it with her baby daddy to show him what his upgrade looked like. Her messages ended off with her suggesting that we forget about what happened the other night and start fresh. Her suggestion was a contradiction because she also requested that we pick up where we left off in the bedroom. I'm at work now. I have not responded to her messages because I have no idea how to politely tell someone I do not speak psycho. TL. Doctor hooked up with a girl who got angry at me when I stopped going down on her because I could hear her baby crying in the other room. She kicked me out of her apartment for making her feel like a bad mom, and then, couple days later, she sent me several crazy messages telling me that I looked like her baby's father, who she apparently bombarded with pictures of me in order to show him what his upgrade looked like. Oh, and she wanted us to start over, but also pick up where we left off in bed. Time to delete Tinder forever. GIF, Giphy. FXJYMFUDQVCMPANPJM, downsized. Sounds like this chick is pretty high on the crazy hot scale with leaning towards more crazy than hot. Hashtag ROUNDTWOOOOO. Carrot, S. Assert dominance. Say you were the ex's cousin. And the only reason you came over was on a dare. Sounds like she's gonna take shit out on you for what the OG did because you look similar and no one nowhere needs those kind of fucking head games. Block and move on. Just be direct with her that you are no longer interested in her. She sounds like major red flag. Today I fucked up by having an anxiety attack running into my high school crush, in front of my fiancé. Throwaway account even though it'll be so obvious to the two other people in this story that it's about them if it's found. I, 29M, was out shopping with my fiancé, 27F. And while we were lining up to get a coffee, I felt a tap on my shoulder and turned around to see the girl I was head over heels for in high school, 29F. Just for a bit of background, I never dated this person, but everyone in our friendship circle, including her, were very aware of my feelings towards her, which is now quite embarrassing to look back on, because I wasn't aware how obvious it was to everyone at the time. I did ask her out a date on one occasion, but she politely declined, and we stayed friends for another 12 months until that entire circle drifted apart naturally. But for several years, this girl was the very much unrequited love of my life and my absolute dream person. Anyway, so cut to over a decade later, I'm very happily engaged to a wonderful person I'm planning on spending the rest of my life with. But instead of handling myself with any grace, immediately upon seeing this girl my heart starts raw acing and I was stumbling over my words and barely making any sense, while still trying to be funny. I don't even know why I got so nervous, but it was so unexpected and I was overcompensating and getting more anxious realizing how obvious it was I was uncomfortable. So we had a brief, brutal chat, parted ways and then I was just left with my fiancé who went very quiet for the rest of our time out, until we were driving home about half an hour later, when she told me, "I've just never seen you like that in my life." I tried explaining that it was just a shock and I don't know what came over, but things are still weird between us right now. Any suggestions? Too long did not read. Was overly excited seeing my high school crush in public with my fiancé right there. Childhood memories are strong, human body fickle. You don't have control over the hormones in your body but don't mistake that for love and don't do anything dumb. Say sorry to your fiancé if it made her uncomfortable and just don't talk to your high school crush. No reason to blow things out of proportion. Just tell her you were extremely uncomfortable in this woman's presence because of how humiliating it still feels that your whole school was aware you had a crush on her and got rejected. Childhood and adolescence memories are strong emotionally. Well, you should have told her that right in the aftermath. Now it will probably sound like an excuse. Don't overthink this. You and your future wife will look back on this and laugh at how you fumbled yourself over this past crush. It's not like you're going to leave her and chase this past crush. I walked right past my high school crush at my 20-year high school reunion and I had a similar anxiety attack. Mind you, at this point I had been married for 15 years at this point and hadn't even thought of this girl since probably 11th grade, she moved. All those awkward feelings from 16-year-old scrawny me came rushing back. I just nodded hello and kept walking because I didn't want to embarrass myself by trying to have a normal conversation. "Oh man, I feel horrible for your fiancé," loudly crying. I forgot my girlfriend's name while introducing her to an old crush once. It wasn't great.